Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Chris, your sneaker professor. About to jump into this article I wrote on the site. You guys see it over here. It's in the description. You can click through. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. There's not going to be anything salacious or about the negative aspects of what's happening with Kyrie. What I'm doing is explaining that in 2018, Nike began repairing Kyrie's image, and the fact that it's 2022, it's only 4 years later that they drop him. It's a big fall from grace, but it was predictable, and you could see it happening. Although Kyrie at one point was the second best-selling Nike signature shoe, and at one point was the only Nike signature shoe in the top 10 of all sneaker sales, specifically with shoes 1 through 3. In 2018, Kyrie's sneaker sales were starting to decline, and there's a reason for this. But the Kyrie 1 through 3 were the best-selling Nike basketball signature sneakers, right behind LeBron James. So those models for Kyrie, the 1 through 3, showed up in NPD data. Now, here's a really good point of discussion is that when Kyrie was with LeBron, we're going to go over to this Forbes article real quick, just so we can scroll down to information on, let's see if it's in here. Irving is the only player among Irving is the only player among the 4 best sellers without an MVP trophy on his mantle. We don't need to worry about that, but his shoe sales are on fire. Nike brand president Trevor Edwards said during a Nike earnings call in March, and this is back in 2017. The article is in 2017. The Kyrie 3 launched in December was the best-selling performance basketball shoe in the market, and you can credit the most affordable price, which is at $120, and the newness of the shoe. But Nike also had backed Irving shoes with a ton of marketing muscle. And this is what I want to jump into. And I'm going to jump over and I'm getting back to the article. I'm going to type in Questlove and Kyrie. And I'm going to pull up this article. I'm sure it's going to pop up real quick. So Kyrie and Questlove, this is 2016, right? The Kyrie 3 worked to improv. The article, this was a video, but Nike was putting a ton of marketing energy behind Kyrie. The Cavs went on to win a championship. So at the time, when I go back to this article, it leads with this picture of Kyrie and LeBron. And you had this opportunity for Kyrie and LeBron to become like the MVP puppets. You remember with LeBron and Kobe back like in 2012, 2011, 2010, whenever it was. You had this opportunity, if Kyrie had stayed with LeBron, that they could run it back and continue to win championships. And LeBron probably would have stayed in Cleveland. But Kyrie became disgruntled, wanted to have his own team, and everything around Kyrie at that moment began to decline. So let's get back to the article. I just wanted to make sure you saw that. So even like in my own data, and I'm going to click over here and open up and go back and show you guys back in 2013, the Kyries, I'm typing in Kyrie just to look at the products that I had on Amazon. Back at that time, the Kyrie 2s, I was selling for $179.99 a pair, $189.99 a pair, $149, $149. And you can go through this list and you'll see these bigger prices. The shoe retailed $179. Where is this one? $179.99 on the Kyrie 2. Again, $179.99. These are the prices that I was selling the shoes for Kyrie way back when they came out on Amazon. Kyrie was an anomaly from 1 to 3. All of those shoes garnered like crazy resale, and you could get them out of the store, and I would use a discount, and I was just killing it. You have to remember, Kyrie was a pitch man for Pepsi. That they took that, and which is why I used the picture over here to my side of Uncle Drew. They took that from a commercial to a Hollywood film. LeBron came back from Miami, helped Kyrie to capture his one and only NBA championship. And then, like I said, Kyrie just got disgruntled and he wanted to leave. By 2018, even though this article was written in 2017, by 2018, Kyrie was on the decline. He was injured a lot, but he wanted out of Cleveland and he needed a serious makeover. And this is what happened, right? So 2018, Nike did the Kyrie Irving commercial spot, and I'm opening this in a different link, and that was number 11. And I wrote about it, and I said, yo, this is the anti he got game, and that's a good thing. And it was a really good marketing campaign, and I don't have the video up here. They didn't even show the shoe. They showed Kyrie with his dad. But what you have to remember is leaving LeBron and going to Boston, it took Kyrie's presence down a notch. So here's Nike saying, okay, we got to get this kind of new perspective for Kyrie. So in this number 11 spot, these hoops, the people that are fans of Kyrie, they got to see something that's really rare in basketball. And I'm not saying it's a father-son moment. If you think about KD, you think about KD and his mom. She's the real MVP. You think about LeBron, you get LeBron and his mom. You can kind of go down the list of these big famous NBA players, and in many instances, you have a situation that's completely based on the NBA athlete and his mom. So in this number 11 video that Nike had made, it was like the anti-Spike Lee, he got game scene, right? When Ray Allen was just destroying Denzel, right? And it was symbolic of this kind of relationship between fathers and sons, especially like those of us who grew up without dads. But in 2018, with that number 11, Nike humanized Kyrie. But the unfortunate aspect of it is Kyrie couldn't get out of his own way. He mistreated his teammates in Boston. And I'm doing a list now so you can get to the point where you see why Nike, even though they took this opportunity to get rid of him, why they really had to. So let's go through this list. He mistreated his teammates in Boston. He then lied to the Celtic fans before leaving to go to Brooklyn. When he got to Brooklyn, he went completely against the core of what Nike is. Nike is a business that was started by a runner and his coach. Now, he wasn't a runner when he started it, but Phil Knight was a man of Oregon. He ran for Bill Bowerman. The coach in the Nike structure, they even call the people that work at their stores coaches. Kyrie went against the whole DNA of what Nike is by saying he didn't need a coach. So here's Nike like, all right, we got to figure this out. How can we work with this and fix this guy? But he's like, I didn't need a coach. And then he followed that statement up by calling private meetings to prevent, other players from going into the bubble. He missed more games than he could play than he played in. That didn't help his sneaker sales. None of this. His anti-vax status flew in the face of all of the other Nike athletes who took the vaccine and played. All of the other signature athletes. You have to consider people were losing their jobs and people were losing their lives during COVID. And this guy was like, I'm not taking the vaccine, and took a stance that it flew against everything that Nike wanted to create as a perception. And perception is everything, especially when you're dealing with these multi-billion and million-dollar businesses and athletes. So Kyrie, since 2018, the dude hasn't been a team player. And any sneaker that they made for Kyrie that wasn't given a limited concept, the SpongeBob's, the Concept Boston store concepts, those shoes did really well. But if it wasn't a limited concept, that shoe for Kyrie was deeply discounted. And I'm talking ridiculously discounted. Now, you take all of those different things and then you factor in the rise of Ja Morant, who's been trouble-free thus far. And Kyrie becomes a liability that I think Nike knew they were on the way to ending the relationship anyway. So for basketball reasons, Nike had an easy opportunity to end the relationship to focus on the next generation in Ja Morant. Kyrie's recent actions gave them an early out. But to be honest, if you look at the last year of sales, that was reason enough for Nike to kind of end the relationship. Now, I'm going over here and I'm going to show you these two shoes. So the reason I'm picking only two shoes, I picked the Kyrie 5 Low and the Kyrie Infinity because they were released in the last year, right? So the Kyrie Infinity, which is really the 8, the Infinity is an 8 symbol, But I think Nike was planning on dropping them anyway, so they just kind of capped it with Infinity. And then they were like, well, you know what? We'll do the 8. And they started making it, and now they decided that they're not going to release it. So you have the Infinity symbol as an 8 shape. But anyway, I think they were looking at getting rid of them. These two styles that you see on the screen, you look over here next to me, you see the style code for each shoe. Those were general release shoes, and they arrived to the market in big numbers. And they went to almost all of the wholesale accounts. So the only way we can look at this and say, okay, how did his shoes perform in the last year, is to consider resale. Resale is an indicator of heat, brand heat. In the past, like I said, and I showed you this on my Amazon, you could resell a Kyrie for ridiculous money straight out of the store. I mean, even the kids' shoes were selling for $149 and $139 a pair. They only cost $100 retail. The Kyrie Infinity and this Kyrie 5 Low were everywhere. They were readily available. Even when they got discounted, they didn't sell. So let's look at some third-party data. Even when the shoes got marked down, people didn't take an interest in them. So I've seen Kyrie's marked down as low as $59.99 and $39.99. And many of those models ended up RTV back to Nike, and they've been sold directly in Nike factory stores, clearance stores, and employee stores. And even with 50% off the main price, those shoes still did not sell in those stores. They were sitting. So Nike has moved on into a strategy of a 30% off on top of a discount price. So if you go to the factory store, you can pick up a Kyrie extremely cheap. Now, they haven't taken Kyrie off of the website. So a lot of people think they took him off. If you go and you type Kyrie, you may not find anything initially, but if you go into basketball, you can still find the shoes. But the reason I'm bringing all of this up is when I talk about the type of resales they are, which I did in the video previously, arbitrage is a big strategy. So people will pick up discounted shoes and sell them. You have a little bit of an anomaly on eBay with the CZ0204004, the Infinity that you see over here to my side. You have a little bit of an anomaly, but what you're going to see here is a shoe that's consistently priced below retail. The Infinity was $130, the Kyrie 5 Low is $120. Let's get into these numbers. Let's look at it. So I've been intentionally kind of going through all of this discussion without talking about this public outcry about Kyrie. I don't need to talk about that. I can simply show you that the sales problems kind of expedited his fate more than anything else. They only used that as a reason to get rid of the guy. But let's look at some numbers here. And I know I'm swallowing and carrying on. So you got the Domino, which is the DJ, the Kyrie 5 Low, on eBay only, and I'm going to open this up in a new tab just so we can see it. On eBay, there were 16 pairs sold in the last 365 days, but it shows you clearly right here where you're looking, you can see clearly that the shoe only released in April, May, but 16 pair in resale is an abysmal number. It's terrible. On StockX, only 136 pairs sold. And this is the crazy part. It's only sold at an average price of $90. So for a $120 shoe, the average price is $90. That means that whoever got those shoes, right? Whoever got those shoes, they got them at a low enough price that they could sell them on StockX at $90. When you take $90 and you take the fees and everything else, that $90 is really about $76, which means that people were probably taking a $10 to $5 profit on that shoe if they were buying it for $59.99. But there's still only 136 sales, and that's on the low. So we go to the second model, which is the Infinity, right? And I'm going to open the image in a new tab here on the Infinity, but I'm going to show you this. Only 152 pairs sold over the last 365 days. The shoe only came out in May, June, all right? But 152 shoes sold. The average price was $94.37. So let me go and open this up, because once I go over here, you can't see the total sales. But you can see 152, $94.37 for a $130 shoe. That tells you immediately that that shoe had been marked down to $59.99 or $69.99 with an additional 30% off, because there's no way people would have bought it simply to lose money. Now, when I come back over here and I look at StockX, the price is even lower for that same shoe. It's at $92. The Kyrie used to be the best selling basketball shoe for Nike. And everything fell apart when Kyrie requested the trade. He hasn't been the same since. I don't have to focus on what he did or what he said, which to be fair, when I get into it and I start thinking about it, he reminds me of one of the college students that I had when I give them a poem from Claude McKay, or, I give them some radical poetry or something in a literature class. And it was the first time seeing it. And they would be so excited about it. They would dive in and look at every aspect of it, and they wanted to talk about it. Kyrie reminds me of a college student who's learning who he is for the first time, and he's excited about sharing, but he doesn't know how to go about doing it. I don't think Nike should have dropped him. They had every right, because the shoe sales were trending down, because he doesn't play that much and he is a distraction. This was a really good learning moment for everybody with him. He's exactly the same as any black male college student that I've ever encountered when I tell someone information that they never heard. Or if I show a film, like I was showing a film in college called The Killing Floor. And it was about the ghettos, how the ghettos were formed in Chicago and the northern cities around these meat packing plants, and it was about the unions. And I saw this film and I was like, oh my gosh, I understand how ghettos were created. When black men learn about who they are inevitably excited about that information, and they want to share it. And in many instances, if you don't have a college professor or someone you can speak to guide you in that conversation, you can't come off in an offensive way. This is a learning opportunity. Nike belling on the dude, it's kind of touchy. And for me, from the standpoint of looking at it from that angle, that Kyrie is any black kid going into college and learning black history for the first time and having to process all of that with who you are as a person. And I said I wasn't going to make this about that kind of stuff. I want to end it on that note and say that we have to be a little bit more tolerant of the way people learn their histories. And we have to understand that the process of learning means you're going to make mistakes, and you should be able to make mistakes. And we should all be able to discuss them without completely destroying people for making mistakes. I don't think the dude doesn't like Jews. I don't believe that for a minute. I think he's proud of who he is because he's learning for the first time. The dude only stayed in college for a year and was injured and started preparing to go to the NBA. He didn't have that time that a lot of young black men have through college, where they become 5%ers, where they become Muslims, where they decide to test out Buddhism. You try all of these different things and you learn from each one, and then you have this interaction with people who may be in opposing positions against you. You learn how to write papers with refutations. There's all of these different things that happen when you learn. And I'm saying this for if it's a white guy watching this or if it's a black guy watching this. Engage with the people who are around you. Talk with them. If they have an opposing point of view, allow it. Have good conversations. It makes everyone better. I think Kyrie doesn't have someone who studied all of this information and that can deliver a dialogue. He's not going to sit down and write papers, so there's that part of it. But that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys understand where this is coming from, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.